Hello there.
Well, welcome everybody to the show. Tonight we're talking about Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi that aired on Disney+. The finale dropped into much nervous anticipation to every single Star Wars fan out there. The series as a whole has been pretty good and pretty Star Wars. You have fans who think this is some of the best Star Wars they've ever seen in their entire life, and you have some other fans who think otherwise. Getting right into it, we've got our own Dodd Chris with us.
That's right, burying many things in the sand.
So many things buried in the sand.
So many things.
Alberu's just like, yo, what the hell is all this out of here? Now stop burying stuff out of here in my yard. Get out of here.
God damn it. Another freaking lightsaber.
Another lightsaber.
That's the fourth one this week.
No wonder we can't grow anything. We've got the busiest man in showbiz, TV's Casey.
You think I'm bad? You should see this crusty old white.
Before we move any further, spoiler alert. Huge spoiler alert. You see the title of the video. Spoiler alert as we go in here. So I understand the notion of people not wanting nitpick because it brings up bad fifis, right? It brings up bad feelings, okay? It's like, no, don't point things out that make this not so good. I'd like this thing to feel good. When you nitpick, I feel not so good. People are like, stop nitpicking. You're making me realize this is not so good. Stop it.
I want to enjoy it, but at some point I got to recognize its faults too.
Yeah.
With Star Wars having such a rich history with the expanded universe, it's like Marvel Comics. Like, I'll call out anytime something's out of character because, like, I've been reading this for 30 years. I know how things are supposed to be. I know what makes sense and what doesn't. I know the histories of these characters.
I would give the season finale a 6 out of 10. I'm deducting it points for a couple different things. I don't think it's bad Star Wars. I think there are some beats that were not that great, and there is some stuff that was the best Star Wars that we've ever seen. It's absolutely incredible. So why not a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10? Well, I'm deducting points for lack of creativity, story beats that were bitten off straight from, Dave Filoni's Rebels. And I know Star Wars does cannibalize itself. Star Wars does borrow from itself. But to rip off, like, big moments, and we're going to talk about what those are as we go into this. I was not bored throughout it, but I think there were some parts where Deborah Chow as a director could have trimmed the fat, and I think there was some weird production things. As someone who professionally works in production with cameras, with editing, I think there were a lot of missteps here. I think if certain people, certain writers and directors aren't being watched over and given the okay by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, then we get what, in my opinion, is mediocre Star Wars. And I agree with Noble Armo in the chat. It was very mediocre for me. I agree. It was mediocre for me as well. I don't hate it. I don't hate on Lucasfilm. I don't hate on Disney. I think it was mediocre. We'll see what Chris thinks. I think there were some really good things in here too. We had Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen really going at it. I like that they brought him back and they made use of him here because I think the end battle that we got here was Hayden Christensen because how Vader was moving. I don't really care for the shaky cam. I don't know what's going on here. And I'm someone who suffers from motion sickness when it's airplane travel and it's long trips. And the shaky cam was so crazy, Chris, during the Vader and Obi-Wan fight, because people were just like, oh, it's a stylistic choice. It's fine. I was actually motion sick. I actually got sick watching Obi-Wan versus Vader. I'm just like, the shaky cam it's making me sick. I'm not doing this to myself.
First of all, I was upset that it happened again. Like, of course it was going to happen again. I don't think it was necessary, but like once I got over that, it's a dope ass fight. Like, great. They're throwing stuff at each other using the Force. They're going all out at each other. It's a great lightsaber fight. It shows once again how Darth Vader is trying to be just like a friggin' concrete brick, just going at it. And Obi-Wan knows he can't overpower him, and he outsmarts him by taking out the electronics. It's a great fight. It is, I think, completely unnecessary. Of course, that was going to happen in the climax of the show, but it was fun. Again, the whole thing takes place in what's clearly the volume. I'm over it. Like, show me something fun. Show me some wide shots. Let's see you guys actually run around and jump off stuff and not just go at each other. Whatever. Okay, I'm done with that. But it was cool. Again, Obi-Wan goes Super Saiyan. awesome. Didn't see that coming. Do I think there's anything in the later movies that actually warrant him going that powerful? No, but whatever. It made for a really cool moment.
It was a really cool fight. Anyone watching this thing was blown away. I think everyone across the world who loves Star Wars, who tuned into the show, who maybe even didn't care too much for Star Wars, just like, okay, I get it now. This is really cool. This is a sick fight scene. Deborah Chow, what's with these like top-down drone shots? What do you? You don't have to make Star Wars say it's two space wizards with laser swords. You don't need to Michael Bay this scene. You don't need to give us like crazy angles and top-down views where you're counterclockwise turning the camera, which Michael Bay does in a shot like the infamous Pearl Harbor scene where the bomb's being dropped from the plane and the bomb is turning clockwise and the camera is turning counterclockwise. He does it again in Transformers. Whoever is in production who made this call, let me not just say Deborah Chow, who made this call of like, okay, this looks exciting, this looks sexy, this is going to amp up Star Wars. No, the two space wizards with the laser swords are going to amp us up. It's like when Michael Bay was like, let's put flames in Optimus Prime so kids will think he's cool. He's a talking gigantic, he literally said this, he's a talking gigantic robot, Optimus Prime. You don't need to put flames on him so kids think he's real. Stop it. Anyway, so I think they're trying to make it sexy by like having these different angles, these top-down views, these what look like drone shots. As again, someone who like literally professionally uses a camera and edits, it's so jarring to me. It's like someone who works as a chef and you go to a restaurant that your friend is now a snob. You can't go anywhere. I have a friend, I have a cousin who's a chef, and I have a friend who's a chef. And everywhere we go, I'm just like, all right, chef, how's the food? And it's like, oh, the sauce could be a bit better. You know, this could be more. I'm like, okay. I love it though, because you get a different perspective and you know, because sometimes they're like, the cook on this could be a bit better. So forgive me for being a production snob, but stuff like this like stands out to me, like a chef who's going to a restaurant that you recommend and they're tasting the sauce and they're tasting the food and they know it's a bit off because that's what they do professionally. Anyway, it looked like when Obi-Wan was pelting the rocks at Vader, the rocks were just like dusting over him because like Vader was like kind of stopping it with the Force. At one point, I expected to like Vader to be like, all right, uncle, okay, stop.
It did feel like a snowball fight, but with rocks.
It did. Yeah, that's a good way. Yes, because I didn't feel like there were rocks. I got the feeling they were just like getting like made into like powder because like you know you're throwing him at Vader, so he's gonna block it with like a force shield. But yeah, it did feel like a snowball fight. But with rocks.
Let's go with that force shield.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that. I like that.
I'm probably in the 6 or 7 band camp. I think my problem with the whole thing was kind of the lack of stakes. I was hoping they'd do something more interesting with Reva overall. They didn't really, like, literally by the end I was like, so why did she have to be in this? Like, her backstory was more interesting than her current story. I think that's a problem. Like, I agree with you that some of, you know, that final fight between Obi-Wan and Vader was good. Again, the stakes are kind of negligible. I think I said it last week. I feel like we're getting volume fatigue. And I think part of the problem that the shaky cam didn't work is that that whole fight felt very constrained for the most part. So it wasn't like they were, you know, you were following a character running down a street or something like that. They were in a very tight proximity, which, you know, again, the volume is a really freaking cool thing, but like, okay, cool. We just had another barren planet with a couple of rocks on it that they could just throw each other through. Like, again, like, I don't know. It was, overall, I think I would recommend the series. It was fun. There was a lot of good Star Wars stuff in it. I don't think it was groundbreaking.
Star Wars is a fantasy. It's a space fantasy. To call it science fiction is technically true, but it's really science fantasy. Part of that, why it's so endearing to people over the years, is because everything you're looking at is real. All those backgrounds, big paintings. All those ships, models that are zoomed in way too close. It's real stuff. It's real. All of it. Just give me that. I want to return to form to the classics. It's not outside the realm of the possibility. Don't let real effects, things you can touch, disappear. The Tom Savinis of the world, they're a dying breed. Don't make horror movies the last vestige for practical effects and blood spatter and things like that. It doesn't have to be. Star Wars is built on this. The reason that a movie made in 1977 or 1980 looks so good is because it's all real shit. That's all I want out of this. So if you're giving me more Star Wars in any capacity, just make it look more real. Make it more down to earth. Make me believe in the world that I'm living in. Make the galaxy feel like a real place that you can visit and touch, and not just a merchandising opportunity like Galactic Star Cruiser or the trading post that is in a weird, awkward place between episodes 8 and 9 canonically. I don't know. What do I give Obi-Wan? A 7 out of 10. Why? I like the character moments. It's got great action. Does it miss the mark in a lot of ways? Sure. But Star Wars isn't perfect, and this show doesn't have to be.
I don't think it really moved the needle for me on any of these characters. I'm in the probably 6 to 7 out of 10 ballpark. Overall, positive. I think I would recommend it to anyone that likes Star Wars because it gives more Star Wars, but it didn't like ruin things. Like, definitely not the Book of Boba Fett. Way better than that. Is it as good as Mandalorian? No. That's my camp.
I agree. Is it as good as Mando? No. Is it as good as the Book of Boba Fett Mandalorian episodes? No. I think that's some really peak Star Wars we're getting with this modern era of Lucasfilm. Because again, like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are just like two guys who are huge Star Wars nerds. Like they get along very well. Like I recall back to Star Wars Celebration with them sitting on stage talking about the Mandalorian before we even saw it, and then just geeking out. And they were talking for so long before they even brought out the main actors, because like guys, if you don't go to any conventions and stuff like that, even if you watch like panels, you bring out the actors pretty early because that's kind of who people want to see. Yes, I mean, some people like us, like myself, like the behind the scenes people, like the directors and writers, stuff like that. And Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are huge names, but they were just geeking out on stages about Star Wars and their love for it and where it was, and you see that passion in The Mandalorian, And me personally, in my opinion, you see some passion here. I don't want to say there is not. Ewan McGregor and Chris, you agree that brings a lot to this show, right?
Oh, 1,000%. Absolutely phenomenal performance. And honestly, Hayden Christensen did exactly what Hayden Christensen was supposed to do in this, which was great. He brought his energy to it. It's a different vibe of Vader. I feel like it's weird that this is 10 years at, like, the way he behaves in this. I feel like it's weird that it's 10 years after Rise of Revenge of the Sith. Yeah,
Revenge
I'm
of the Sith,
spacing on here. Revenge of the Sith. I feel like he still feels kind of juvenile in some of his choices, where he wants to go after Kenobi and ditches the greater plan. And I'm like, really? Like 10 years into this, that's your plan right now? I feel like the Vader from A New Hope, which takes place, I believe, like 5 years, pretty much like 5 years, 5 to 7 years after we see them here. He's much more like calm and a much more like, general, or like a military minded person. But I think this was a much more impulsive version of Darth Vader, which is really what's the crux of Anakin Skywalker. So I kind of wish the show took place like 5 years, like halfway between there. And the way that Vader was behaving, I was like, really, 10 years after, you're still just gonna get pissed and go after him? I feel like he would have like mellowed out a bit. Like, you've been in this robot suit, but you're still pissed about being in a robot suit. But like after 10 years, are you really that pissed about being in the robot suit? So again, I don't think it did anything groundbreaking.
I'm seeing that sentiment echoed like throughout like the geeko nerdosphere, right? You see people like doing their shows and they're talking about their podcasts. Even some of the big like major trades are doing their panel shows and they're talking about how it was serviceable, it was fine. Some people are like, they didn't break any ground. And as I'm hearing all this stuff, I'm just like, damn, that sounds kind of sad for Star Wars, because I grew up on Star Wars. For Father's Day, my dad and I were watching some episodes. Like, he started it. It was so funny to hear his critique, and the biggest thing, it was so. I loved it. He was like, "Yo, why did they make Obi-Wan a sissy?" Like he's like, "This is Obi-Wan Kenobi. We know he's a bad man. Like, what are we doing here?" And he brought up a good point too of, if Obi-Wan was to hide Leia and Luke from Vader, rightfully so, You know what I mean? And Yoda agreed, like, yeah, he can't know about these kids. He's going to turn them to the dark side. He's going to corrupt them. We're going to have more of these terrible people in the world who think that only one person should rule over everybody and impact what they want. The Empire, you know, like, you don't want the Empire everywhere. You don't want their rule everywhere. I mean, look what they're doing to planets. And I think there are certain things you do see here, like the mining planet, where you had that great scene where the voice of Zach Braff is playing that naked Morad type thing where, oh, there used to be, a bunch of farms and things here, but the Empire came through and did certain things for their operation, right? To mine certain like materials there. And so because the Empire deemed it necessary, it's like, all right, well, these farms don't exist. It's just straight up production, refining, send things to like the main parts of the Empire where we're building ships, we're building we're building all kinds of stuff. And it's just like, damn, look what they're doing. So, so my dad was saying, like, if someone was to come for Luke, like, it doesn't make any sense he would cut himself off from the Force, because how would he defend Luke, right? Like, let's say someone really like found out about Luke and like was blasting down to the planet, and Obi-Wan sensed like their malice and their hate, and he cut himself off of the Force. Like when he runs over to Owen and Beru, it's like, what can you do? They'll be like Obi-Wan, oh, so I'm so glad you're here. And he's just like, yeah, give me a gun. Owen would be like, what the hell? You're a Jedi. What do you mean give you a gun? Yo, like this person, they're coming now. What are you doing? Like use your Force thing. Use your space wizardry. And everyone's like, I cut myself off from the Force, but also I'm trying to talk to Qui-Gon Jinn, so it doesn't make any sense. It almost sounds like the writers from like Rick and Morty are on this show. It's just like, oh, he's got to cut himself off from the Force or whatever. Yeah, but he's also trying to talk to Qui-Gon Jinn. Okay, whatever. Yes, he's trying to talk to Qui-Gon Jinn, but he also cut himself off from the Force so he won't be found out. But he still wants to talk to his old master. But also, there's this new character, Reva. Yeah, she's here. It sounds like a Rick and Morty episode. I'm like, what? Yeah. So my dad was just like, yeah. So how would he defend Luke if he's not keeping up with his skills? It makes no sense. And I was just like, well, devil's advocate, and I was just like, all right, what if, an Inquisitor, and he didn't watch the animated stuff. He's like, oh, that's for children, whatever. I'm an OG, like, I went to see the original trilogy. So he was just like, okay. And I was like, okay, well, listen to this. What if an Inquisitor comes through, a person who is solely made just to hunt down and kill Jedi? The Emperor can't have anyone who's Force sensitive, who can possibly rise up against them, be alive.
Yeah.
And he was just like, okay, but think about Tatooine is an entire planet. Okay, think about if someone were to stumble upon that area in which Luke is living, that's way too close. Obi-Wan has to act. Obi-Wan has to spring up and take out that, whoever that is, right? So again, him cutting us off of the Force doesn't make any sense. I was like, damn it, that actually is a good, that is a good thing to point out. So the whole plot point of Obi-Wan cutting himself from the Force, okay, like minus points for that.
I honestly don't think it mattered that much, except for him getting his ass kicked in episode 3. And then, by the end, he finally finishes all the side quests, so he's like a powerful bastard. But yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of it as well, I think we've talked about this with a lot of these Disney Plus shows, is like the pacing. Like they just dwell and take too much time, like giving us a vibe and not just getting to the point, because they have to spend 6 hours on it. Like, honestly, just like I've said with a lot of the other ones, this would have been a great 2-hour movie that would have been super tight.
Yes,
absolutely. Like, it just nothing but the hits. And then we wouldn't have had like 2 finales. Like the last episode felt like a finale, and then this one also had like a big moment that was a finale. But I get like why did he cut himself off from the Force. I like, obviously it's because there are Force sensitive people that might be able to detect him. But again, looking for Qui-Gon, okay, you're still trying to do Force things, but you're completely cut yourself off to the Force. Like, what are you doing, guy? You can't have it both ways. Cake and eating it too. It's not working out. And then by the end, I guess he kind of realizes that. Yeah. But was there enough of that exploration to warrant them being at the beginning like, oh, he's completely cut himself off from the Force? I don't think so. I also didn't think I don't think it broke the show, but it is a weird point.
I feel like Charlie Day trying to solve Pepe Silva
Fucking
in
Pepe
this
Silva,
whole
yeah.
series. When you talk about Reva's story, right? So youngling, Order 66 happens, gets stabbed by Anakin, lives and survives. She grows up to be an Inquisitor, or gets stolen to be an Inquisitor.
Infiltrating from the inside to get closer to Vader for revenge.
So over the last 10 years or so, she's been killing innocent people, cutting off a woman's hand that we see in this episode, assumingly going after and killing other younglings and other Force-sensitive people.
We're assuming that she's killed children.
We're assuming that she has.
Totally
Because, I mean,
that.
as an Inquisitor, that's literally her job. Her whole existence is just to hunt down and kill Force-sensitive people and other Jedi. You know, because like the Emperor cannot have anything else, you know, disrupt his empire. So she's doing this in order to get back at Anakin for killing her friends who are younglings. So she kills innocent people and supposedly going to do that. Also, she blames Obi-Wan Kenobi because since she was a youngling, she knew that Anakin was his Padawan and Obi-Wan was in charge of him. So she also blames Obi-Wan for that. So she wants to hunt down Obi-Wan. She's so adamant to get Obi-Wan in front of Vader so that Vader can then kill Obi-Wan and then she can kill Vader. Very unclear. Minor inconvenience. Don't even think about it. Story points. Whatever.
She wants to use Obi-Wan as bait to draw Vader out and get him alone so that she could then kill Vader. It's a very complicated plan.
Yeah, it's complicated.
And it relies
it's
on
complicated and convoluted,
so much.
But it's not even done yet. She gets stabbed by Vader a second time after not really taking the opportunity that Obi-Wan gave her by attacking him while he was pulling down a ship.
He attempts to kill her as a child and thinks that she's dead. The Inquisitors pull her out of the gutter and they make her one of them. Vader's dialogue implies that he knew all along what she was up to. For years, he's known that this is the same girl that I stabbed in the tummy, like, before I got cooked myself. So he's waiting for her to make a move, right? She turns against him, and he absolutely makes her look like a clown shoe going up. He doesn't even draw his sword. He's like, "F this."
That was actually cool. That was actually
I'll fight you with that.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
The saber fights in this, f***ing awesome. Then he stabs her in the same way. She has no more use to him. She has drawn a blade to her master, failed, you die. He should have killed her right there, not stabbed her in the same way again and just leave her to die. Just kill her right there. And what's worse than Vader not confirming the kill? Reva not confirming the kill on the Grand Inquisitor because she stabs him in the same way that she herself was stabbed and survived.
Yes.
And worst of all, and this drives me f***ing crazy, Obi-Wan does not kill Darth Vader. I know why, because we know what happens later. Vader is defeated. His breathing apparatus is crushed. His mask is damaged. Obi-Wan has just come to the conclusion that whatever this fucking space wizard robot is standing before him killed his best friend. By rights, he should have no remorse to kill this defeated enemy. And yet, he walks away anyway. I can't believe it. It's why I think Vader shouldn't have lost. It makes him look weak.
I agree.
And there's no justification for Obi-Wan not taking it to him.
Exactly, especially that, you know, they show us and they tell us that through Obi-Wan that he confirms that Anakin is truly dead. So why would he leave such a dangerous Sith Lord alive?
This fucking lunatic.
It makes zero sense because, like, he truly sees that Anakin is dead, Vader is now alive, a Sith Lord, and Leia and Luke are really in danger now that he's confirmed it himself. Why would he leave that person,
bananas.
this thing, this half, you know, this Terminator alive to potentially go after Leia, to go after Luke? Because he knows through the dark side he would get their hands on them and turn them, if not kill his own children. Like he's a wild card.
And that's the fucking craziest thing is that in A New Hope, he does get his hands on Leia. And he tortures her, the Dr. Ball, the evil medical droid. Like, come the f*** on, dude.
They inadvertently made Obi-Wan like the greatest villain in all of Star Wars because of Obi-Wan, Alderaan is dead.
That's been the case regardless of this show.
I mean, even more now, they confirmed it.
Yeah,
I mean, they literally show us that billions of people are dead because of Obi-Wan. He didn't stop Vader. And at this point, Alderaan is still alive. There are people there. And there are other planets, you know, and other places that, you know, the Death Star was tested on hell. They tested on their own facility, their own city.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, but because of that, Obi-Wan's
It's
just
crazy.
like, I was like, well, my friend is truly dead. Gonna walk away now. La 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 la. It's like,
Yeah,
what?
good-
and
good
then
luck-
and then
good luck
even
getting back.
worse, before that fight was even done, Vader covered Obi-Wan with rocks, and Obi-Wan is holding it up with the Force. Remember in a movie called Star Wars, A New Hope, where Darth Vader was like a presence I haven't felt since, and then he geolocates Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And he faces him. You mean to tell me Darth Vader, for as powerful as he is, his badass motherfucker, doesn't know that right below him, while he has a high ground, that Obi-Wan is not using the Force to keep himself alive? And
not even that.
And Vader just walks away.
He knows he's not dead. You know why? Because he didn't feel it through the Force.
Yep.
You fucking Force sensitive people know when people die. It's just they were millions of miles away from Alderaan, and he felt an incredible loss of life that nearly drove him to his knees. Like, you feel death. The Force, it binds us. It penetrates us. It surrounds everything. Okay? You feel stuff. You know. Okay? You don't have to see it with your eyes. You feel it inside you. You shouldn't be able to surprise these fucking people.
Dude.
Like, oh, this motherfucker's still alive? Oh, I guess I didn't feel him die. That makes a lot of sense.
But Chris, we get a really cool moment, right? Obi-Wan does this downward slice move, and he hits Vader's mask open.
Yeah.
I've been seeing reactions from all over the net. People are just like, what an incredible moment. Wait a minute. Didn't we have this moment already in Star Wars? And yes, I hear everybody with Star Wars does it all the time. I know Star Wars bites its own content, but such a pivotal scene, such a grandiose moment in Rebels when Ahsoka Tano does that, and it reveals Anakin underneath, and they have this little back and forth, and she's like, oh my God, there's Anakin. To me, and Chris, I want to get your opinion on this. To me, when I saw it, it looked very cool live action. I'll give them that. It looks very cool live action. But for them to plan this out, to have this story beat, to literally bite off of Filoni, I don't know if Filoni okayed it, if he knew about it, or he was like, sure, it's an honor to have this in live action. I don't think we'll ever get word on him for it, but shout out to the production team. It looked sick as hell. It looked absolute sauce. It was dope. Seeing Anakin under there, seeing Hayden Christensen in makeup with a broken Vader mask, and seeing Obi-Wan crying at what Anakin has become, this youngling, this Padawan, this someone he loved as a brother, and who he was his apprentice. He has failed him again. We got it back in the day where he's like, I failed you, Anakin. I failed you. And you felt the heartbreak there, and you feel the heartbreak here again, especially when he says, you didn't kill Anakin. I did. And I was like, oh, man, shout outs to whoever wrote that. Okay, give that person a raise, all right? Whoever wrote that, give that person a raise. I thought that was pretty dope. And the whole back and forth with James Earl Jones' Vader voice and Hayden's voice. Oh, come on. Obi-Wan punched his voice box. Oh, amazing.
That was a good choice.
Chef's kiss.
It's emotional manipulation of moments that we've seen before. Again, I was not super stoked that they met up again, but whatever, for the moment it was great. But him saying you didn't kill Anakin, I killed Anakin. Are they trying to justify the fact that that Obi-Wan tells Luke that Darth Vader killed his father from a certain point of view? Yes, Vader's point of view, that's how he sees it. It felt like a weak justification for if that moment hadn't happened, I think that this would have hit way harder. It felt like a lazy attempt at recreating the Rogue One magic of people are like, well, how could there be one weakness of the Death Star? Well, we're going to tell you that we're going to build an entire movie around the fact that this was an intentional moment. So there's this backstory that actually builds and makes that actually more powerful. Do we think that this line where this is how Vader sees things, do we think that actually makes it more powerful? I personally don't. Again, it's a cool moment. If they're going to have this meeting, they should have this back and forth now that, again, Obi-Wan is up to full strength again, and actually probably more powerful than he was before. But yeah, that's fine. I again, I feel like because we saw something like this in Rebels, like that moment was even more heartbreaking because that was the first time Ahsoka was seeing Anakin like that. This is not the first time Obi-Wan is seeing Anakin like that.
Good
They had a
point.
fight not long ago, 3 episodes ago. So again, would it have been better if it was a tighter 2-hour movie where this is the first time they meet up or something like that? This would have hit heavier.
When you see online the rumors that, you know, the writers were either rushed or they're not Star Wars fans or hired to do a job, it's like you hear rumors, you're like, no, that can't be it. Like, there's no way Lucasfilm, you know, would okay people like that to work in such a big property like this. And of course, you know, they have to be some sort of Star Wars fans to want to work on a project like this. But then when you see inconsistencies and things like that, it's like, wait a minute, do you not understand how the Force works, how Darth Vader works, how Obi-Wan works? That's not how the Force works. I do love that they kept the restraint of not having Darth Vader say, I have the high ground. I like that. I like that. I was waiting for it. I'm like,
I was scared,
dude. I was literally
scared.
I was leaning forward. I was like, please don't. Oh no, these people, they would do it with me. They don't know how this whole thing works. And here, some people are saying with just, hey, this was a cool moment. That was a cool moment. Another cool moment. I give it a 9 or a 10 out of 10. It's just like, yeah, but let's look at the story. Let's look at how we got here. You know what I mean? Because Star Wars is about story. Like, come on. I mean, this crazy kid named George Lucas thought of this wacko idea influenced by Westerns, by samurai movies, you know, by, you know, things like Doom. And he was like, wow, I love all that stuff. What if I thought of this like grand space adventure? And then it was this weird thing where people were like, well, this is weird and wacky. The extras were known to make fun of it out loud. They're like, isn't this weird what we're doing here? And then it exploded and became what it became. So I don't know, man. Like a lot of people are excusing the writing and the story here and some of the production.
There's great character moments. All the dynamics between Obi-Wan and Leia are fucking great. I really like all the characters. I like the little perspectives, like Kumail's fake Jedi. I think that's cool. That's so cool.
But it's also
like there's
dumb.
A bunch of like little.
It's very dumb.
Oh, I mean, it's totally suicidal. Like you'd have to be insane to pretend to be a Jedi.
Yeah, I'm just like, well, when I was watching that, I liked Kumail Nanjiani, and I liked the concept of what he was doing. It was hilarious. Totally, yeah. But I was just like, isn't this a time where there are space wizards hunting down and killing and murdering other space wizards? Why would you pretend to be a space wizard when there are hit squads, there are death squads coming to eliminate and fucking murder other space wizards?
Yeah, but even so, I think it's like a cool little thing to see. You know, that Obi-Wan
is that the problem though? And isn't that like the problem with like Lucasfilm? They're like, this is cool.
Oh, this is cool.
So the fans will like it. But conceptually, it doesn't make sense. It's like, hey, we're gonna have Kumail Nanjiani have a comedy thing. He's controlling stuff with magnets. But in the world of Star Wars, it's kind of suicide to be a thing. But it's cool, so the fans will love it. Isn't that the problem with the current Lucasfilm?
I mean, I guess, but also it's like he's literally working in an underground railroad that's saving Force-sensitive children. So, like, there is some legitimacy for him to pretend to be a Jedi in order to save these kids. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I don't think I don't think it's such a stupid idea that like it's completely unbelievable. Like I could believe that in times before the Jedi were exiled, that people would pretend to be Jedi to get like free shit and be like pretend to be a galactic peacekeeper. Like that's something I completely buy. They even do a bit in Clone Wars where Cad Bane pretends to be a Jedi to steal a Force-sensitive child. So there's like a history to it in some regard, but I like all those character beats. I think those are really worth it alone.
So we all know that we're going to get Qui-Gon Jinn, we're going to get Liam Neeson. Everyone kind of guessed it, especially that, you know, peppered throughout this whole series. You know, they were hinting that, hey, we're going to get Qui-Gon Jinn at a certain point because Obi-Wan was communing with him or trying to commune with him. And to me, it felt so shoehorned. I'm sitting there watching the episode at 3 a.m., right? Also, I don't know what marketing department was just like, okay, let's release the episodes at midnight Western time, which is 3 a.m. Eastern, and even worse for like people in Europe because like, it comes out like midday or whatever. It's just like, wait, what? Like it's here? Oh, okay, I'm at work. Anyway, it's like not convenient for anyone. So we have the ending that we did, blah, everything happens. And then he kind of just stumbles onto Qui-Gon. I was like, what are you doing? you stumble onto Qui-Gon Jinn? I'm like, bro, there was absolutely no setup. It wasn't played for any cinematic effect. And my brain exploded when I watched. I'm not going to name the show, but there is a large audience geek entertainment show in which their panel was talking about that moment, and one of their panelists, who is well known, checkmark stuff like that, was like, "Oh yeah, and they just and like, you know, they didn't spend too much time on it. They just did it. You know, they didn't like set it up and that was great. You know, he didn't come at some pivotal moment." I'm like, my brain is broken. What?
Yeah, why didn't you?
Yeah.
It was literally the perfect moment.
Yeah.
I literally thought during the Vader fight, when he's like fighting off the rocks and he's barely holding it on, I was like, cool. We've had this moment in A New Hope when Luke is trying to use the computer to shoot the photon torpedo into the hole, where Obi-Wan Kenobi comes out and like gives him the words of wisdom that he needs to do what he wants. Like, why are we not doing the same thing? It was the perfect setup.
Reference.
Not only that, but there is a whole theory out there, intentional or not. People seem to be drawing correlations that all 6 of these episodes each corresponds with episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 through there. So like, if there are direct moments that are supposed to be homages to that, like, why not just go all out and pick the moment that makes sense for this to actually happen?
Oh wow, that'd have been a great like anime. I mean, if we're going all anime with throwing rocks and making earthquakes and like
on the ghost of your mentor showing up.
Yeah, you know, to like
classic.
You know, like help you, like classic anime stuff. It'd have been great. You know, you have like your music swell up and it's like, what a crazy moment, and that'd have been nuts. But towards the end, they're just like, oh hey, I didn't see you there. Hi, I'm Qui-Gon Jinn, and I'm like, are you f***ing kidding me?
So here's what I'm thinking. So having Qui-Gon show up to have him move the rocks, we've already established at the beginning of this fight that Obi-Wan has regained his strength. So having Qui-Gon show up essentially means nothing. If Qui-Gon was the motivator for Obi-Wan to have regained his strength, that would have worked fine. But he's already done it on his own, so he doesn't need it, and that's fine. The Force is really the journey to become a Jedi. It comes from within. Like, yes, you have a master, and you have to be apprenticed for a while, but like, the only person to really grow in the Force, the only person who can do that is you. So that's fine. Qui-Gon showing up at the end, though, kind of, apparently this is a more contentious issue than I thought. So if you remember at the end of Revenge of the Sith, Yoda's like, your old master I have been in contact with. Commune with him, I will teach you how. Like, okay. So we're just assume at the end of Revenge of the Sith, we're like, all right, Qui-Gon's the first dude to roll up as a Force ghost. Not counting ancient Sith or whatever, you know, Exar Kun, whatever, people trapped in, you know, tombs and holocrons, whatever. Yeah, we've seen ancient Force ghosts, fine. Qui-Gon's the first Jedi or Sith in like modern times to be able to manifest as a spirit in the Force, right? I assume that was a safe assumption after Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. Obi-Wan, go to Tatooine. You'll meet Qui-Gon's Force Ghost, which is a thing that we can do now, by the way. And you'll figure some shit out with, you know, you've got some time for the boy to grow up, whatever. Then in Clone Wars, right, while we do see Qui-Gon's ghost in the Mortis arc, that could just be some weird Mortis fuckery, because there's a lot of crazy shit going on that planet with literal manifestations of the light side and the dark side of the Force as siblings. So I kind of wiggle that one out. There is a moment where we hear Qui-Gon's voice that says that, and he can't manifest fully because he was never fully trained to do so. So you have an establishing point in the cartoon. It's like, yeah, oh, it's the cartoon. Not everybody's seen it. Like, fine. That Qui-Gon is, during the Clone Wars, not able to do it. And it's like, can you really learn new skills when you're dead? Maybe. So I don't know. He shows up at the end of the show where Obi-Wan has the really great look that's on like that one action figure that they then moved into the comics, you know, with the goggles and the vest, and you know, he's strapped with gear. A great one of Obi-Wan's best looks in the whole universe. And he rolls up and Qui-Gon just turns around, he folds his arms, and Neeson looks great, by the way.
Yes.
He looks great. And he's like, oh, about time you showed up. Oh, it's like, here I am. Time to, you know, you weren't ready to see me. And fucking fine. You know, Force ghosts work in mysterious ways. Luke didn't see, you know, Obi-Wan's ghost for 3 fucking years. The first time he sees Obi-Wan's ghost is when he's dying in the snow. That's 3 years after Obi-Wan's been dead.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. Like, the Force moves in mysterious ways. I think Jedi reaching out to you as a Force ghost really only come to you in a time of great need. You know? For as much as I don't
better need as Obi-Wan almost dying because of Darth Vader.
Yeah, you'd think. Yeah, you'd think.
So it's
You
not
would-
so
you would think.
that vehicle is not, it's not serving as his reason, but it's just like an enhancer, right? Like in an anime moment, there would have been like, oh, your old master like comes through to
Yeah.
like help you out. Like he's not the motivator, he's just like, you know, like the buff that you need to move certain thing.
Right.
So I personally, because like I really liked Qui-Gon Jinn. He was like one of my favorite characters. Like Liam Neeson, loved him as an actor. So
He's one of the like in a vacuum. He's one of the greatest interpretations of a Jedi,
yes.
or at least what we're supposed to think of one. Like
Dude,
ideally,
yeah. And I remember like
yeah.
when I was younger, you know, watching episode 1, especially, you know, like watching the OG trilogy and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is the guy that trained Obi-Wan. Okay, he must be a badass. Oh shit, he is a badass. He's wise. He's stoic. He's calm. He's a great leader, and he's strong. He's powerful. I always bring up the fact that like during the Darth Maul fight, it was Qui-Gon Jinn for most of that. Like Obi-Wan got kicked away for a good portion, and it was just Qui-Gon battling him. Not only that, but when he first runs into Darth Maul, a trained Sith assassin, trained by Darth fucking Sidious. Let's not gloss over that thing. Trained by Sidious himself.
Yeah.
Okay, they hadn't seen a double-bladed lightsaber in a long fucking time. This alien creature, this Sith assassin, flips off of a speeder bike to Qui-Gon Jinn, and Qui-Gon is able to fucking sauce him up. Come on! Like, put some respect on my guy. Think about it. A Sith assassin trained by one of the most powerful Sith lords in a millennium, in a long fucking time, gets sent to kill the fucking Jedi, and he has a saber, okay, and a double-bladed saber, and he's so proficient, and Qui-Gon Jinn's able to match him the first time, and then when Obi-Wan gets kicked away in the second fight, when it's the three of them, Qui-Gon Jinn handles him with his double saber. I mean, I don't know how much like training as a master, you know, Qui-Gon just had with double saber combat. I wouldn't think much, because at time it was just like, whoa, holy shit, you know, because even Lucas said it himself, you know, it's like it's something they hadn't really encountered before the time, which is why it's such a menacing thing, because you can attack and defend at the same time. So you have Qui-Gon Jinn battling him for the most part of that fucking fight, like such an incredible foe. So Qui-Gon put some respect on his name, not spreading
all these Jedi have done is just, oh, we're having a fun little duel. Look at us swinging around our swords. Hey, you never know when you might need to defend yourself against another guy with a laser sword, even though we're literally the only people who for 5,000 years have had laser swords.
Exactly.
Fucking, you're right.
Yeah.
He fucking jumps out of nowhere and he's like, get back. And he's like, I fucking got this.
I got this.
I
Dude,
fucking got this. And then he didn't have it later.
Yeah,
To be fair, he didn't have it.
He didn't have it, but like just the fact that he was able to go up against like that type of weapon, but again, it's able to attack and defend at the same time. So while Qui-Gon is doing his best, he can't really do it. And that's why he died in the end. And then Obi-Wan, like learning from his master, seeing, okay, I'm seeing how this guy attacks, I'm seeing what he does. Because again, Qui-Gon Jinn's taking most of the brunt of that fight, okay, because he's such a badass, and Obi-Wan was able to defeat him because he just saw what happened and how he has to move against this thing, against this weapon. That's why he blocks behind the back. That's why he blocks for it. That's why he's more in tune with, okay, I got to look at both sabers now in order to defeat this guy, okay? So for them to be like, oh, hey, Obi-Wan, I didn't quite see you there. Oh, you weren't ready to see. Come on, we got some stuff to do. I'm like, really? You just write him in like that? And I see like there's a lot of people on YouTube, Twitter, who's just like, well, let's just be happy that they just gave it to us. Liam Neeson didn't have to show up. They didn't have to do this. Let's just be happy. And I'm just like, bro, I'm happy that he's there, yes, but don't pull that shit where it's just like, don't be ungrateful that I, you know, it's like, I fucking hate that beggar's mentality of like, just be happy. They're giving a star. Just be happy. They gave us a little moment. I want the moment done right. Yes, Star Wars has campy lines. There's a lot of like geeky stuff. There's a lot of like weird shit. Yes, they bought off their own style.
Yeah, let's not forget this is a space movie for children.
Yeah, but does that mean that we have to keep doing these same things? No. Does that mean that we can't improve? No, because I mean, to say what you want about The Last Jedi, it's one of the most beautifully shot and made Star Wars movies.
Star Wars.
It's absolutely spectacular visually. I mean, Ryan Johnson and his cinematographer, they knew how to film that thing. They're like, you can pause so many moments of that movie, and they're paintings, they're stills. And you look at some stuff in the prequels, and there's some moments like that, but not that much. So
you don't have to have a fucking curtain in a spaceship, Ryan Johnson, but it looks great.
It looks insane. It looks great. So what I'm saying is that yes, things advance because look at the advancement in stuff like that. What Ryan Johnson did, right? Like again, you don't have to have curtains, you don't have to have certain things.
And how Game of Thrones the lightsaber combat has become. They're fucking punching each other.
Yeah.
That's rad as fuck. Yeah. I saw Vader fucking bop Obi-Wan in the nose.
Dude, like Obi-Wan assessed that like his mechanical parts like help him in a certain way, and he was bashing it himself to like I thought that some people had a problem with that. I was like, no, like Obi-Wan is a fucking Jedi master and he is a general. He assessed that those mechanical things were helping him, so of course he would do whatever he can, even just punching it straight up to defeat his foe. And
smashing it with the back of the lightsaber.
I thought that was smart. I thought that was a great way to do that. People had some problems with that. I was like, no, he would. Yeah, that seemed to track. So,
I think the fight overall. I think the fight's great. I think it's great.
Yeah. So my whole point was that like we can continue making great Star Wars and better Star Wars from things that we learned. Look at like the stuff that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are putting out. I'm looking forward to the Ahsoka series because Dave Filoni has great live action episodes of Mando. Like they're spectacular. I mean, even when he first showed Ahsoka live action, that episode was great. He drew from the cowboy and the samurai movies, the serials that George Lucas drew Star Wars from, and there were phenomenal scenes. I mean, even the last battle with Ahsoka and the lady who ran the place, it was like a samurai scene. He's like this. Like George would love this, and he did. He was on set. He was on set for that. He ain't on set for any of this other shit.
George doesn't give a shit.
No, he doesn't. But he was on set for that stuff.
But he shows though.
Yeah, exactly. So people were just like, yeah, but there's some campy. I mean, the Star Wars has some crappy stuff. So that Qui-Gon Jinn was fine. No, certain creators have shown that they can advance Star Wars with beautiful scenery, great writing. I mean, if we don't have Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, we get like this, in my opinion, mediocre Star Wars. I mean, I don't think that you have to necessarily do something just because it's expected. Like, imagine if the first scene of Obi-Wan season 2 is Qui-Gon. That would blow people's fucking minds. Yeah. It's like, oh, he didn't show up. Maybe he'll show up in season. I don't know. Liam Neeson, like maybe he's outgrown it. He hasn't touched Star Wars since 1999. Yeah.
He's come back for a voice or two. I think maybe once, but I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Which is probably what irks me too. He hasn't been back here live action since like 99, and they're just like, oh hey, didn't quite see you there.
I think it's funny and glib. It doesn't bother me.
It bothers me because he's like one of my favorite top Star Wars characters of all time.
And if there's more, we'll probably see more of him, so you don't have to worry about that.
Chris, there's rumors, they have not announced it. There were rumors that they were going to announce a possible season 2 at the finale, maybe even in the credits like they did with Loki. But we haven't heard anything concrete yet. Nothing on StarWars.com, nothing from their social media yet. Do you want a season 2 for Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi? Do you think it needs a season 2?
No. No and no. I don't want a season 2. I don't think it needs one. We're fine. We're fine where we are. If there's anything, because the Reva stuff was kind of so just abstract at the end there, I feel like we're probably going to see her come back in some capacity, but I don't think we're going to, I don't think, and I don't necessarily want a full-on Kenobi show. Again, that being said, I said it already, the show was fine. It was good. 6, 7 out of 10. It's a fun watch. It gives us more Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, but great. But do I want to see more of it? No, again, because the stakes are just weird. So why would we push something even further when it already was like a little unnecessary that it happened in the first place? Yeah.
There are people who want a season 2, and I'm just like, it's called Star Wars: A New Hope.
Yeah, what do you want to happen? Like, what do you want to happen in the middle of it? Because cannot be another Anakin Kenobi fight. If you want to give me Kenobi like fending Tatooine from Tusken Raiders or something like that, like, all right, fine. But do I need 6 episodes of that? No.
No, absolutely not. It's especially when, Palpatine, Darth Sidious kind of just told Vader not to go after Kenobi because of reasons. He's like, it seems like you're still up on your old master. And he's just like, what? No, you're my only master. I'm good now. I'm like, what? That's why he
Fine.
doesn't just continue to go after. Okay,
No,
whatever. Whatever. Okay.
Sorry, Dad.
Yeah, whatever. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for this episode. What did everyone think of Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi as a whole, and what did you think of the finale? Comment below and let us know. We'll see you guys later. We'll see you another time.